Welcome everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Economic Growth Committee meeting, which is the final one for the term for the 27th of August, and I'd like to call on Councillor Dennison.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Tū taua mai I runga, tū taua mai I raro. Tū tara mai I roto, tū tara mai I wāho. Kia tau, te mauri ora, te mauri tū, te mauri ora, ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, tā ki e. Ngā mihi.
Thank you, Councillor Dennison. We do appreciate that. Firstly, I want to welcome both Councillor Meehan and Councillor Fitzgerald, who are both online today. Welcome. And apologies. Yep, we've got Councillor, the Deputy Mayor, and we've also got now, we'll probably be finished early, Councillor Finlay. I'm not sure you're going to need early departure at this stage, but we'll go from there. And we'll move on to, first off, we'll do housekeeping. So housekeeping, if we have an emergency, just pull that up, yep. On hearing the alarm, we will leave by the fire exits, and we will go evacuate through to the square, and basically no one's to smoke or vape in the building. And if we need a defibrillator, there is actually one in the customer services area. And if we have any incidents, we need to talk to either Sarah or Nico if we have any incidents. So that's our health and safety. And then we'll move on to notification of additional items. I don't have any additional items. We need to vote on the apologies. Thank you, Councillor Wood. I will move those and seconded by Councillor Wood. Can we vote on those? That's passed with 15 votes for and none against. Now we'll move on to any notification of additional items. I haven't heard of any. So we'll now move on to declarations of interest. Again, I haven't heard of any declarations of interest. So we'll move on to public comment. Don't have any public comment. So now we'll move on to the presentation from the factory. So Nick will come up. Thank you, Nick, for presenting to us today from the factory. It's over to you.
All right, I think I've got this going. Thank you everyone for the opportunity to speak today. So I'm Nick Gain, the CE at the factory. So the factory is Manawatu's entrepreneur support organisation here in the Manawatu. And our mission is really simple. It's to foster economic growth in the Manawatu by championing innovative startups. So at the factory, we support entrepreneurs that are creating high growth and scalable startups that are out to make a difference in the world. Our support is really hands-on, so we do a lot of coaching, we run tailored incubation programs, we help validate and grow and build stronger businesses. We also coordinate an angel group here in the Manawatu called MIG Angels, and this connects up startups with investors so that they can fuel their businesses to grow. Our approach is really simple as well. We champion, support, and invest. So we champion ambitious founders, we connect them, we encourage them and nurture an entrepreneurship community. And we also support growing startups. So we provide coaching, events, tailored incubation programs, and project management services. And finally, we invest in bold ideas. So we connect great entrepreneurs up with startups, up with investors for them to grow. So we've had a really great year here at the factory, and ahead of releasing our impact report to you later on in the year, I'd like to give you a quick preview of what you'll be seeing in there. So you can see that we've run a lot of events over the year, and we're really proud of that. And thank you for attending. I know a lot of you in the room have been big advocates for us and have attended these events. So our work has helped to deliver really meaningful outcomes to the region. In the last financial year, the June year, we've supported over 202 entrepreneurs. 97 of those took their first steps through pre-incubation, 15 entered our full incubation program, and a further 4 went on to raise investment. Through this work, our incubated startups helped to raise $545,000. And our local angel group, MIG Angels, invested $730,000 across several startups. Across our events, we hosted we hosted 439 attendees and received an excellent NPS score of 71.5. So these are real outcomes for our community. This work, what it's doing is it's contributing to create stronger businesses, create more jobs, and generate more investment into the economy. So on the previous page, that was numbers. What does it really look like at a granular level? So when I was here last year in November, I spoke about Gillard Honey. This was a traditional honey business that was moving to a high-value niche product business with an export focus. So a lot has happened with Gillard Honey over the past few months. So we've helped them and supported them to expand their international market growth, so that they're going to be selling into China and India. We've helped them develop new products and strengthen their strategy. So with our support, we've actually helped unlock more than $2 million in new revenue opportunities for the company. So I also wanted to give you a quick preview as well of what's to come, what you'll see when I'm here in the next year in 2026. So what's in store? We've got a really good, strong pipeline coming up, and I wanted to showcase 2 companies that are up and coming that we're really proud of. So the first one is we're working with a hardware and software company that's making coffee and food ordering easier. And a lot of you have probably actually used this platform before. They're currently working with Caltex, BP2Go, and Robert Harris. So with our support, we're going to be helping them with a lot of project management, market expansion across New Zealand. And the second one is a software app that's making online dating easier and safer. So it's going to be working complementary with the largest dating apps in the world, and the founder is currently working with a local software developer and local design agency to help bring this idea to market. So with our support in project management, market expansion, and capital raising, we see these 2 examples bringing in a position to potentially raise $1 million in investment and create 5 new jobs here right in the Manawatu. The final thing I'd like to give you a quick little preview on is something that we've been working alongside CEDA and other organisations in the Manawatu, innovation organisations in the Manawatu. So on the screen now, you'll see that this is a draft of the Manawatu Innovation Ecosystem Map. It's effectively a wayfinder for entrepreneurs and startups and innovators in the Manawatu. Now, this is a working draft at the moment that is being used, and we're consistently tweaking it. And it's able to demonstrate that there's significant support and a pathway for entrepreneurs and startups in this region. So today was really just a snapshot of the momentum that's building up in the region from the factory. And at the factory, we really believe in backing ambitious founders. So we're not, and when to help them succeed, so that they become the next generation of companies that contribute back to the Manawatu. So thank you again for your continued support and helping us make an impact in economic growth.
Thanks, Nick. Are you happy to take some questions?
Yeah, I try to keep it short, so there was time for
Yep.
questions.
Did a great job. I just want to ask you a question about the one of the examples you gave us of, I know probably might be in confidence, but it's the one that you talked about with Caltex.
Yeah.
The coffee,
Yeah.
the coffee one. So how far through of development are you with that one, and when will it be ready to be finished?
Yeah, so I had to keep it light because it is quite commercially sensitive, as you'd understand. The product, the first version of the product is actually out there and it's being used. So if you go down to the Caltex Fitzherbert Avenue, you'll be using the app at the moment. So there's some new hardware tweaks that you'll potentially be seeing over the next year. Some of those have been rolled out across New Zealand already. So to answer your question, it's really within the next 6 months that you'll see a larger expansion of that product.
Thank you. I can't say I use the other one at all, but Councillor Johnson.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Nick. I was just wondering how the last year has been, given the sort of tough economic times, a lot of established businesses closing down. Has that had an impact on your ability to find investment for the startups? How has it been over the last year?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So it's certainly been really tough in the market. We have seen some of our portfolio companies, not Manawatu-based companies, but our portfolio companies go into hibernation because they haven't been able to raise further investment. But I think the positive thing is a lot of our Manawatu companies, they've got a really good base of local Manawatu investors, and we've been able to continue to help them with investment. So overall, our investment numbers are pretty similar to last year. They might be a little bit down, but there's still a lot of investment there for the right type of company. So if it's targeting the right type of market, there's a big problem there. And they're making some great traction. There's money to invest in those companies. There's money for those companies.
That's
to
good
grow.
to hear. Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kia ora, Nick. Thank you for your presentation. You talked about 200 entrepreneurs, and then 202 actually. And so then the Wayfinder work that you're doing with CEDA, and that might be part of the answer to my question, but what I wondered is, how do those entrepreneurs find you? What's the gateway in?
Yeah, so we have a series of different partner networks that we work with. So we work very closely with the people that you see on that map. Mm-hmm. So on the map, you'll see the likes of CEDA, Sprout, Food HQ, which are all other partners within the innovation ecosystem. So our top of the funnel really looks like with companies coming through from them directly. So we do a lot of marketing as well. We do events to ignite those types of those people to come and engage with us. So there's really a series of different things. But the Wayfinder is also a way that this is a map for the region to say, actually, where do I go? Okay, well, if I don't know where to go, let's go to the factory. If I need some ideation support, I'll go to the factory or Sprout. If I need to do some networking and I'm a small business, I can go to the Manawatu Business Chamber.
That's great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Barrett.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Nick, for reporting in on another great year. Just wanted to understand a bit about what you're doing to grow the investor side of the ecosystem.
Yep. So we've got some really good plans in the works for this. So we've actually got another event in a few weeks' time with some investors. So really, it's building and nurturing those investors that we have, providing them with some great opportunities. We will be providing them with a new way of investing as well further on. We also have some regional market expansion things that I can't talk too much about, but you'll see that coming out as well. So this will mean that the group grows in size quite significantly, and by growing in size, that means there's more investment available to go back into startups.
Great, thank you.
So we're putting some work in to get this going.
Fabulous. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Nick. Ngā mihi kia koe. Nick, I just wanted to know, are you seeing any trends like the demographic of those 202 people or those with the startups?
Yeah, Benji's behind me as well, and I'm sure he's really at the coalface of the 202. And I'm sure he's probably got the answer for me, and he'll tell me afterwards. But really, I think there's probably two big trends that we're seeing at the moment. The first one is we're actually seeing quite a few traditional businesses needing support. So when I say a traditional business, I'm thinking a business that is more bricks and mortar. It is not tech based. And so we're seeing quite a lot of those businesses actually needing support. So what we're doing in that space is trying to educate them that, yep, you can go down that path of building a traditional business, but here are some tools if you'd like to build a scalable business that is high growth. So we're trying to train those people, give them a different way of thinking. So that's one trend. There's quite a lot of traditional businesses coming through. And non-tech based businesses. In terms of tech trends as well, so our three big tech trends for the year, and this will be in our report as well, they were SaaS, so software as a service. So this is apps, things like Netflix, those types of subscription-based things, agri-tech, and ag food and food as well, food tech. So I think that's a really strong kind of an overview of where we live in Manawatu as well. Those are key industries, and we're seeing that through our trends within the 202.
Thank you very much. Kia ora, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That's all the questions, Nick. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd like to now move that we receive the presentation, seconded by Councillor Wood. And we'll block to vote on that. Thank you. That's passed 16 votes for and none against. We'll now move to the minutes, which are on page 7 of our order paper. I don't see anything there. Pretty straightforward, but I'd like to move the minutes. Seconded by Councillor Wood. Unless anybody's got any issues to raise? No? We'll look to vote on the minutes, thanks. That's passed with 14 votes for and 2 abstentions. Are we putting the voting records up? Or? Thank you. Great. Okay, we're now looking to Stacey. We're going to do paper item number 8, which is the Manawatu Regional Distribution and Logistics sector profile. Thank you, Stacey. So I know you've got a presentation, so I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Kia ora tātou, Stacey Andrews, City Economist. So I have prepared a presentation today, and I hope I don't go into too much detail, but I'll keep an eye on the time. Just a couple of comments before I get started. In terms of the design, there will be further design to the document that will be underway after this meeting. So there is a few typos and things in there, don't be concerned about that. That will all be completed and fixed. I do also want to give a shout out to CEDA, for their support bringing this document together in the final instance. And in terms of the biggest takeaway for me of this research is the rapid expansion and growing significance of the distribution logistics sector to the regional economy. I must say that I myself was even surprised at the strength of the data that I was analysing to put together this research report, and how also this serves as a platform for further growth going forward. So the sector is both one of our largest industries and one of our largest growth industries. So it is the second largest industry after the public administration and safety sector, which is around the 960 million contribution to the regional economy. Makes up a larger share of our economy relative to the New Zealand economy, therefore we have a growing specialisation in that space. For every dollar of GDP, it estimated to generate another 71 cents through the broader economy. Economic contribution is also increasing over time, so it was under 10% in 2000, moving up to 12.2% in 2024. Growth in the local sector has well outpaced national growth at 103.5% versus 72.9%. So we've got that rapid expansion far above the national average. We have the 7th largest growth in GDP between 2002 to 2024, and that's just shy of Hamilton, which has also been growing very strongly over that time frame. In terms of our investment in industrial and storage buildings, that's increased 11-fold versus 5-fold for New Zealand. So some really growth, strong growth in private investment in the sector in the region. So the 10 largest distribution and logistics sectors are the ones that we've also seen a significant amount of investment in the region, and in particular the grocery, liquor and tobacco product wholesaling sector, as well as machinery and equipment wholesaling, road transport, basic material wholesaling and motor vehicle, and that's from some of our big industries such as Toyota, Foodstuffs and Woolworths, growing their presence in the region. So in terms of GDP growth, subsectors and economy-wide, our growth is faster across all subsectors and the sector as a whole, much faster than the national growth and much faster than growth across the broader economy. So in terms of our business size, we have a much larger average business size here in the city, in the region I should say, relative to nationally. So 7.5 employees per business versus 5.9 for New Zealand. Wholesale trade at 9.4 employees versus 6.2. And a lot of this is being driven by some of those big investors that are coming into the region over the last 20 or so years. So it's driving that growth, and the number of or the percentage of employees employed in those big businesses is significantly more than at the national level. So regional employment is ranked 4th in terms of growth for the region, employs over 6,800 people, and also of course makes up a larger share of regional employment here versus New Zealand. I've already said there around ranking 4th, we're only behind the big players, the Auckland, Christchurch and Tauranga in terms of employment growth, and definitely significantly outpaced national growth at almost 62% versus 35-ish% for New Zealand. For every 2.6 people, another person is employed in upstream businesses that serve the sector in the regional economy. So that shows the impact on the broader economy as well, and that's ignoring the income and consumption impacts from employment. I was trying to be robustly conservative when I calculated that. Employment contribution has increased from 2.3% of the total logistics and distribution sector workforce up to 2.8% in 2024. So again, the 10 largest distribution and logistics employers pretty much follows the trend of GDP as well. So we're seeing quite substantial expansion in the numbers of employees there. And in particular, again, that grocery, liquor and tobacco product wholesaling businesses with almost 1,600 additional employees in that area since 2000. Employment growth again is much stronger here than at the national average and across the broader economy as well, and across both wholesale trade, transport, postal and warehousing and the combined sector, noting that wholesale trade is really very much our high growth subsector in the logistics and distribution space. We're still getting good growth in transport, postal and warehousing, but wholesale trade is definitely the standout in terms of expansion. I have added this in here for some context. So over the last 24 years, an additional 19,600 jobs have been created in the region. Of those jobs, 13.2% of those were in the logistics and distribution sector. So that's just to give some context to the contribution of the sector in terms of our employment growth objectives. I hope that provides a little bit more context there. Location quotient, so this shows our economic specialisation and comparative advantage. And while we have a 1.1 overall in terms of the sector, there's areas of very strong comparative advantage, such as retail trade, motor vehicle and vehicle parts wholesaling. All the big sectors here also have a strong comparative advantage as well relative to the national economy. Multipliers are always very interesting to look at these and to see what the impact of these sectors are on the broader economy as well. So rail transport is right up there. For every dollar earned directly in that sector, it generates another $1.74 across the wider economy. Again, air and space transport, an extra 97 cents generated across the wider economy for every dollar in the sector, and grocery, liquor and tobacco product wholesaling as well, very strong, and many others as well. And interestingly enough, these are our points of difference in many other parts of the country where we have this multimodal transport system which provides additional benefits across the regional economy. It also covers some of the areas of high growth in terms of investment for the region. So very positive. And again, employment multipliers as well. Air and space transport, one of our defining features of our logistics and distribution sector here, right up there in terms of generating those wider benefits, as well as rail transport and some of the other big players, such as grocery wholesaling in the region. So our distribution logistics workforce, I found this quite interesting. Overall, the educational level of the sector is slightly below the national average across all sectors, but actually to see the change was quite interesting to me, to see that there were fewer people or fewer workers in the sector that had no or low level qualifications, and more people in the sector that were moving toward higher level of education, which was very positive. We have a higher proportion of European and Māori in the workforce nationally, and a lower level of Pacifica and Asian workers here. A greater proportion of women in the workforce, so national average is 21%, 28% of our workforce are females here in the region. Stronger regional youth engagement as well, so 15% of our workforce are aged 15 to 24, compared with 11% for New Zealand. Greater proportion of full-time work too, so 88% of positions are full-time in the sector, relative to 79% across the broader economy. Nationally, 86% are full-time in this particular sector. So earnings make up 10.7%, so just like GDP and employment, earnings do make up a higher proportion of our earnings here, total earnings here in the region, and high earnings growth regionally at 260.7% compared to 181.6% nationally. Now just a bit of a disclaimer around earnings, it's nominal, so it hasn't been adjusted for inflation, it's not real data, what we call real data, which is has been deflated in terms of inflation, so just something to realise there. But it's so, in essence, it's a great comparator to see that ours has grown so much more strongly than the national average, but in itself, it's not, doesn't tell us a whole lot apart from the relative growth. And another thing here that we're really trying to highlight in the research as well is the lifestyle and affordability benefits of this region as well in comparison to many other places that also have strength in this sector. So this is my last slide, but I think I think it was the final part of my my committee report, which sort of highlights everything, brings everything together for me. So the research highlights the strength and strategic importance of the regional logistics and distribution sector. Alongside CEDA and our regional partners, the research is intended to be used to support advocacy to central government and promote inward investment by showcasing the region's comparative advantages, growth potential and alignment with national infrastructure and economic priorities. Together with other research, the findings reinforce Manawatu's position as a key logistics hub within New Zealand's supply chain network. And this is the future. We haven't had the type of investment that we're looking at drawing into the region now. So we've had strong growth over that time from private investors choosing to come here. And with Te Tanganui, we would expect that pace of growth to accelerate further. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey. Very good report. Where do you see this report being delivered to? What kind of audience do you see it going to?
We're already using it for some aspects of our business planning, etc. So we're using it as a resource for our consultants to understand the sector as it is currently and how it has changed over time. We'll definitely be publishing it widely and using collateral or information from it to support other marketing work streams, both with CEDA and the council itself.
Great. Okay, we've got a few questions coming. So first off is Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Stacey, for the report. Really interesting. I just wondered in reading it, why the time period that we've used? Why is it from 2000 to 2024? That made no sense to me.
That is because the data starts in 2000. So I just wanted to go back as far as I could, and the information that we have on disaggregated sectors is back to 2000 exactly. So that was why.
So that's interesting to see that length of time. But did you do any chunking down of the data within that 24-year period to see?
Yes, absolutely. And if within the report I talk about the growth, the top growth sectors, and that has it in different timeframes. So that provides a bit more context of growth levels over varying timeframes. And I guess we do see in the year to February 2024, we see the impacts of recession too on the GDP and employment, which we're seeing more broadly across the New Zealand economy and the sector.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The Mayor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Stacey. Like the Chair, a really good report, and appreciate some of the numbers even surprised you. So it shows it's really come up in the rankings. Just two questions. On page 29, where it gives a bit of a snapshot of the economic growth, it lists the other cities, and I get all the other cities, they're bigger or they have ports, but it's got Whangarei there, and it, I just can't recall a logistics centre in Whangarei. And it's their growth seems much larger than ours. Is that because of the port in Marsden Point, or is that a typo?
Typo. They had a much smaller distribution logistics sector than us. So that was just looking, so I'm still trying to find the reference to it within the report.
Page 29 of the...
Oh, page 29.
Yeah, and you go to the first paragraph there.
First paragraph.
And it says, territorial authorities, we ranked 7th out of 67, with only Auckland, Christchurch, Tauranga, Wellington, Whangarei.
Yeah, I can definitely go back and check on that. I know it was a very small sector originally and it has grown quite a bit since 2000, but I will double check that figure is correct, just to be sure.
I know outside Northland stuff, and they're a much smaller city, so it seems strange.
Yes, it is. Whangarei is growing quite a bit in that space and is a regional hub like we are in that sense, so it has been growing at higher than the national rate, but I will definitely go back and just check that and confirm that is absolutely correct.
And the ports obviously feed into this, don't
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
I'm picking it's the port probably, yeah. Okay, and just, I know Stats New Zealand, my favourite government department, set some of the titles, but postal seems really outdated, and it's our only sector that's gone backwards, where it says postal and courier pickup and delivery services. I haven't posted a letter for about 4 years.
Yeah.
Should we not be calling that parcel? Because that's really what They do. They don't deliver many letters, they deliver parcels.
Yeah, I do agree with you. It is an ANZIC industry level title that's been around for a very long time. Certainly probably has to be reviewed on that basis, but we're seeing that type of pullback, and for the same reasons that you talked about.
Can you influence that by,
I can certainly try.
yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, if we don't say anything, it just continues to be.
yeah.
I mean, I had New Zealand Post on about it. Thought they should be calling themselves New Zealand Parcel and Post, because that's essentially what they do now.
Yeah.
Right, great report, thank you.
Councillor Zabellin.
Thank you. My question was also about ports as well. I was quite interested in the list of cities that we're performing quite well against, and it seemed that Hamilton is the only one with an inland dry port. So I wondered, is that sort of, in looking at what we can expect from Te o Tanganui, is Hamilton an example where we could compare apples with apples? Are there similarities there?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think with the Te Utanganui aspirations, we're certainly looking to be the second largest hub in the country after the Golden Triangle, and Hamilton would be the place I would compare us to, absolutely.
And since we've sort of seen quite sustained growth here, do you think that there's a possibility that we could outperform Hamilton, given that theirs is quite new and we don't have our hub yet? If we had our hub, what difference would that make?
Yeah, you make a very good point, because we've had rapid growth because of our geographical location, the benefits of coming here, and the private sector has made that decision on their own without all that infrastructural investment. So that bodes well for drawing future investment into the city, especially once we get some of that infrastructure investment underway. And actually, many people that I've talked to recently, especially through chamber events and things, and they all have the same thing to say, is that they have no regrets about coming here. It was one of the best things they ever did in terms of interconnectedness. Upstream businesses available to support their activity as well is one of the things I hear a lot from big business that has relocated to the region. So I think it's all very positive.
That's good to hear. Thank you. And I just had one other little question, which is in your report at 2.3a, it just talked about the average number of employees per business. But I was just curious about the range of employees. What's the higher number of that? Do we have data on the range of employee numbers?
So the way that we extract it from Stats New Zealand is it's 0 employees, which is self-employed, and then 1 to 5. Yeah, so we have the number of geographic units, which is the business numbers, and then the number of employees. So we don't quite have that specific detail, unfortunately.
That's right. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Stacey. A couple of questions. One, a bit like the mayor, seeing the titles. Grocery, liquor, and tobacco. There's part of that we might want to see grow, and there's part of that we're quite concerned about as a nation. Is there a way to drill further into that data to understand what's happening specifically within tobacco?
Yeah, I have had a look at this from aggregated data from Market View, and I think it's about 4% overall that is actually liquor and tobacco. I really want to call it grocery personally, because it's the vast majority of it. But I can definitely provide you with some updated data on that.
In terms of teasing it out within these kind of reports, is that possible to do then? It sounds like you could section it off.
Yeah, you can. You can estimate.
Yeah.
You can estimate what the
Would
proportion
that be
is.
possible in this case? Because there's a lot of positive language in here about celebrating growth, et cetera, and well, not to make it a comment, but personally, I wouldn't be that comfortable with seeing something go out that was kind of celebrating, increased tobacco sales. So could we actually partition that out before this gets finalized?
Yes, I believe we can. I may have to talk to governance. We may have to I'll take governance advice on whether we have to have a second recommendation to allow changes to be made.
Can I get the General Manager to make a comment on that? Is that hospital pass back over here?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Look, I think this is a for information document. I think there's the General Manager, and he has delegation to make minor amendments. I see no issue with making that adjustment after the committee meeting.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Chair. As well, a question just around, kind of just interested around the the job side of this versus the kind of overall sector side. And if I've got the report right, we had about 260% or maybe 270% growth in the sector since 2000, but the jobs growth was much, much smaller. It was only 60 or so percent. So why do we see this kind of really big gap between how big the sector is getting versus how many jobs we're actually creating in that sector?
Yeah, I think there's two things here in terms of one of the value of that indicator is growth here relative to national growth. So it's substantially higher, which is around the 38% nationally. The other thing is that the sector is becoming more capital intensive, so employing more capital. I think it's about 44% of GDP is generated from capital relative to labour. So labour levels by GDP are falling due to that capitalisation, but it's still, in terms of when we compare it with other sectors, it's still quite also very dependent on labour. It's just that we are getting more capital is being used in the sector relative to...
And in terms of the jobs that are created, I guess how many of them are what we might call good jobs in terms of kind of where the different maybe quintiles or whatever of salary or remuneration sit?
Yeah, it is very difficult to break it down, to disaggregate it completely. We are seeing a greater number of people earning over the $100,000, and we're seeing a greater number of workers that are at that very high skill level in terms of level 7 and above. But in terms of what occupations they're in, that's difficult. We haven't been able to get data to define that.
So do we have like a median or average wage though within this sector? And can we then compare it to kind of other sectors to see how this sits?
Yeah, absolutely. We can have a look at that as well.
Great, thank you. Madam Chair.
Yes, you finished? Thank you. Thank you very much, Stacey.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Stacey very much for this report. I think it's an excellent report, as you see from the questions that you got. So thank you very much, and it'll be well received, and I think from people as well in CEDA and others that will be using it for the business case going forward. So thank you very much for all your hard work. Thank you. I'd like to move the report, and seconded by Councillor Wood, and open it up for comment. The Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, thanks, Stacey, the team at CEDA. Pretty valuable piece of and timely piece of work as we are advocating both to the private sector but also to government agencies. I was interested in the rail numbers there about $1 spent and what it actually produced, and we must keep pushing hard with government agencies, Kiwi Rail, NZTA. This is so timely because, as Stacey said, the private sector has come and invested here, and Councillor Zabellan's comments about we've actually yet to develop some stuff in terms of infrastructure means we possibly can get bigger. Some of the other comments, yes, around some of the titles and language, I agree with Councillor Barrett. Those things can be sort of singled out or pushed into another bracket, and maybe we advocate to Stats New Zealand to perhaps modernise some of their titles into the current years, and to also utilise this document now and spread it wide to the private sector too, because there's opportunities for this now to go to, you know, the big entities globally as well. The IKEAs, the Audis, all those sort of people that might want to come to New Zealand and look to come possibly to New Zealand and make the same sort of decision Toyota New Zealand did, you know, about 30 odd years ago when they decided to relocate to Palmerston North. And yeah, some of the reasons they did that are still here. Central location, an international outlook, a university, a council that was pro, and all of those things still exist today. Great report. Thanks, Stacey.
Thank you. Thanks very much, everybody. So we'll look to vote. Thank you. That's passed 15 votes for and none against. Thank you. We're moving on to the next item. I just have to let you, we do have a special guests that are coming in at 10 o'clock, but James, I'm not going to hurry you up. You need to just carry on doing your item. The guests, the Jets are coming in at 10, but and we're going to have morning tea with them, but we're going to have James's presentation and we'll see them after James's presentation. So it's over to you, James, on the Maratu Ring Road indicative business case. Thank you, James.
Good morning. James McGill, Senior Transport Planner. I'm joined online by Phil Peat of ARC Advisory, who's part of the project team. He's the transport planning lead, so he'll be on hand to help answer any questions you might have about the report that we're putting up in front of you. So this report is, I guess, a bit of an update on the previous update that I gave on the 9th of April. Since that time, we have appointed JHD as the lead consultant, and they are supported by ARC Advisory, Alta, and Mobility Lab. So the project officially commenced on 1 July, and so since that commenced, we've done a couple of things setting up the program. So under section 3.4, I've outlined, I guess, what is a breakdown of about 5 phases, looking at delivery time of about 18 months for the project. We've also nominated what we call a decision hierarchy, so that's based on an NZTA model that they're using for project managing the roads of national significance roading projects. And so that's laid out in section 3.3. So when we get to the work that's been done to date, a lot of the work has focused on what we call the strategic case. So if you remember back to that 9th of April paper, I referred to the strategic case as being the point of the business case where we make a case for change. We outline the problem and the benefits of solving that problem. So prior to going out, we did a bit of work developing the problem statements. So the project team has been working on those and fleshing out the benefits and the measures, as well as building the evidence base. So we have included the current draft of the strategic case as Appendix 1 with this report. I'll note it is still got a few bits to be filled out, and it will functionally remain a draft until we compile the full business case. That's all 5 sections, and bring it all together. Alongside that, we've had a couple of workshops. So the first one that we had was what we call the form and function workshop. So that was building on some work that we did modelling a concept for the Freight Ring Road as part of the work that we did with Te Tanganui, and NZIER did reporting on that. And so looking at that to kind of look at potential vehicle movements and essentially get what we call the form of the road and understanding what kind of, I guess, expectations we might have looking forward. And what that gave us was a good indication that possible connections of the Freight Ring Road, noting that in the attached document, we've got some lines on map that they're just for reference only, that using the one network roading classifications, that some of those would be seen as national level, and that is because of the amount of heavy vehicles that will be used on those roads. And so the second part to that was to basically give a bit of idea of form, and that was a bit of project scoping. So what we wanted to do is upfront indicate what kind of road we're building. So we're not trying to build Transmission Gully, we're trying to build a road that's right for Palmerston North. So with that, I've said quite a bit, and I will open up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. I just want to ask one first question is about community engagement and consultation. So how are you going to go about doing this in terms of particularly the Bunnythorpe community and engaging them in this process going forward? What's your community engagement plan around this?
Thank you for the question. So the engagement phase is really going to look to pick up around phase 2, when we start developing the long list of options. We haven't got the details yet, but we've been having conversations between the engagement lead for GHD as well as Olivia Wicks, our comms manager, and so we're starting to have that conversation. There'll be further planning occurring over the next couple of months, and we're looking at around about February is when we start to have those initial conversations. In terms of Bunnythorpe community specifically, I have been involved in sitting with the committee through the Bunnythorpe Community Plan process and giving them updates on this process. I'm also going to be going back at their next meeting in September to talk to them and give them a similar update to what I'm giving you today.
So if somebody from the public asks us questions, what would you like us to say in a sentence?
That we will be engaging. We're still working through what that would look like, and that we look forward to engaging with the community on this process.
In February?
Ideally, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll hand over now to Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, James. I noted reading through the draft National Infrastructure Plan that the government's put out that the ring road's included as a stage 1 project with quite a short timeline before they're expecting some work may begin. So how does that interface with NZTA and the government? What's our relationship with them in this work? Are they just going to come in over top and do it, or how does that work?
I guess the National Infrastructure Plan was put out as a guidance document by Te Waihanga, the Infrastructure Commission. It's still, I guess, in a draft format, and I don't know if the consultation period is closed. I think it has, but they're reviewing that material. So I guess ultimately that document will be for government's use to consider projects. In the meantime, this project itself sits under the PNITI program business case, and we will continue to follow that process of advancing the freight ring road through that process under PNITI.
Thank you. So just to understand, if we do get a positive result in, say, a year or 2 years' time, what does that look like? Do we hand over the reins of the project, or are we always going to be the project lead on this? How does it work operationally?
Through the chair, I can't really give you a firm answer on that. It's a bit of a complex one. So if you think about the potential roads that we'll be using, there's 3 road controlling authorities. There's us, Manawatu District Council, and NZTA. Hence why MDC and PCC and NZTA are quite heavily involved in this process. So I don't think it's necessarily likely to be the case that it just gets taken over, but I can't give a firm answer on that.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
The Mayor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, James. I may have missed it. I can't find it in here. The timeline to get this sort of in front of influencers, i.e. Government, who then influence the transport agency, or do more than influence, tell them what to do. So when is that? Because we've got an election in, the central government election in October. Ideally, we'd want this finished and in front of them before that, wouldn't we?
Through the chair, so in terms of the timeline, I guess the question about getting in front of government, we would want to have it in time for the RLTP, while there's probably going to be some overlap during the regional land transport planning process. We could potentially put forward recommendations. So I guess the program for this is based on the funding that we have available to deliver it, and so the program that we developed was aligned with that and intended to kind of achieve what we can based on that program. In terms of the regional land transport plan, I guess we would have to try and put forward what we can. So I guess if there's some early interventions that we could look at as part of this, I guess, the preferred option, we can look to put that forward in the regional land transport plan. It's kind of hard to say at this point, though.
I've been a sitting member of the Regional Transport Committee for 10 years, and I can tell you that the government influenced that rather than we influence it. So is there any way we can, it was a very long-winded answer, and I'm getting that it's a no. So is there any way of being able to speed that up a bit? Because I think you're going to miss an opportunity, or we will, if we can't get in front of people. Is there any parts of it we can, I'm looking at it, and to me, it's looking like you're sort of partway through it anyway, now.
I think we'll hand it over to the General Manager.
Yeah, just through you, Madam Chair. As James said, the program has been set up based on the budgets that are available. So there's budget available this financial year, but the bulk of the budget is available next financial year. So you can see, next financial year obviously starts 1 July 2026. So we're spending the bulk of that money in year 3 in the first 6 months. So we're finishing at October 2026 to December 2026. So when the bulk of the funding is available, we're actually making really, really good progress in a short period of time, and that's the way the program's set up. So we have been constrained, as we know, when the budgets, when there was changes in the NZTA funding, we made a whole lot of changes to a whole lot of operational and capital budgets. A whole lot of operational budgets were packaged together to be able to fund this over 2 years. So the program is, to a large extent, directed by the operational funding that's available. I think more broadly, in terms of your question, Mr. Mayor, there's kind of 2 prongs with this work, and there always has been. We'll continue to do the business case, engage with NZTA, engage with Regional Council, go through the steps of the Regional Land Transport Plan and the National Land Transport Plan, but we will continue to take every opportunity we can to advocate to government. We've had some success of late, and as been discussed, that the project is now in the National Infrastructure Plan. It's the only transport project. That tends to suggest that maybe it's next cab off the rank in terms of roads of national significance. So we are starting to get some gains in terms of that advocacy. I think there will be enough information that emerges through the business case to be able to start to use that to advocate in the lead up to the general election next year. Even though it may not necessarily be fully finalised, there will be a lot of data and information coming through that we can use to assist with our advocacy work.
Can I respond? Because I think we're missing something here. We're doing it to a budget plan. My understanding is we should be in front of the government to influence the government. And that key time to do that is at the election.
Are we going into comment though? Do you want?
I'll leave it to comment.
Thank you.
I might even put a different motion up.
Okay.
I think we're missing the point big time.
Okay, Councillor Barrett.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, James. A couple of questions on page 52 of the report, which has the overall map and then some information below it. Just on the overall map, the thick dark lines say new roads, and there seems to be a new road, which is Ruahine Street in front of the hospital. Can you just tell us what the intentions are there?
Through the chair, I'm not sure why that's noted as, that might just be a mistake with the map. This map is pulled from a Paniti related document rather than the Freight Ring Roads, so there's no specific program for Ruahine Street other than the wider Enabling Streets for People program.
So we're not looking to map a whole lot of freight in front of the hospital?
No.
Great, thank you. That's good to be clarified. If we could get some information on email about that too, just confirming what's going on there. My other questions relate to 2.3. The first dot point there talks about reducing freight movements on residential and place-based streets by 50%, or sorry, by up to 50%. So just trying to get a sense, like for the person on the street, what we mean when we say residential and place-based streets. So like Park Road, Botanical, Albert, Vogel, what kind of streets are those?
I might, through the chair, I might throw this one to Phil Peat, because he was part of the team that actually developed the PNITI program business case. Do you want to comment specifically, kind of the intent around that?
Yeah, kia ora. Yeah, through the chair. So all the streets in Palmerston North are classified in relation to a place and movement framework. So really the intent with that one is to say those streets which have a higher place function than a movement function, we want to make sure that's retained and enhanced, I guess. So yes, some of those streets that you're talking about are absolutely the ones that we're looking at reducing freight volumes on. I guess exactly how much and which ones will depend on the options that we look at. And so we're not wanting to dictate at this particular point that level of detail, but it will be part of our evaluation framework as we look at different options and ideas for the ring road.
Thanks. So at this point, are we in any position to talk to residents about future expectations in their streets, say Vogel or Botanical as examples that currently have quite high freight volumes on them?
Yeah, through the chair, I think we will be able to do that through the consultation process, which was talked about earlier.
And how will resident feedback be used to inform kind of where we do end up going with the urban side of freight movement in the future?
James, do you want to take that, or?
Through the chair. So I guess the process we're looking at in terms of engagement with the community will be more focused on the options we can highlight, but until we start to, I guess, flesh out some options and have a recommended program, we can't start to really forecast what kind of reductions of freight we would see. So a big part of this process will be modelling, and so once we have some options, we can start to model and we can start to see what impacts it would have on residential streets in terms of reducing freight volumes.
Thanks. Why are we only going up to 50%? Like, that doesn't seem that ambitious to me when most freight isn't local. Like, by definition, it's going somewhere else. So why are we only expecting an up to 50% cut in the urban network by this ring road?
Through the chair, I might again refer to Phil on this one, because this is something that came out of the PNITI program. But that being said, there might be opportunities as part of the modelling that we might identify that there's actually further reductions, but that was work done by, that was the percentage identified in PNITI. Phil, if you've got anything further to comment?
That's absolutely right. 50% is not necessarily a target, but it's something that we absolutely want to achieve, and there will be absolutely streets that go above that. I guess that's what we'll be looking at over the next few months while we look at different options and look at different treatments and ideas and work out the influence that will have. And we're certainly happy to push for higher percentages on certain roads.
And is that current 50% that sits there just based on an infrastructure point, or is that actually looking at how we incentivize road use around the city, either through bylaws that might influence within the city, how we look at possibly tolling or not tolling the ring road? Like, how much of the incentives around the actual infrastructure are influencing the targets that we have here?
The majority of our work is focused on infrastructure, but we will make comment in terms of those other areas.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, James. Madam Chair.
Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, James and Phil. Just a query, just in terms of one of the issues, and we're just going back to page 52 and just looking at the black line there for the new road just around Bunnythorpe, and the chair actually raised Bunnythorpe earlier in the question time. just in terms of, I guess the thinking is that we would not cut Bunnythorpe in half by any new roading, which might be part of the ring road. Can I just get some, I guess, some reassurance from you and the project team that, first of all, there is going to be some alignment between the Bunnythorpe Community Plan and also some reassurance around, I guess, the fact that we're actually thinking about how we're going to manage that without actually having an adverse effect on the Bunnythorpe community.
Through the chair. In terms of that image on page 52, it is purely conceptual lines just to show roundabout in terms of the Bunnythorpe Community Plan. The key thing that came through was the concern about severance of the ring road, and so the options we take forward will take that into consideration, and we will explore options that avoid severing the community. So that's the intent to go forward is to, when it looks at Bunnythorpe, is to avoid cutting the community off, and look at options that will, I guess, avoid that from happening.
Great, thank you, James. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Just a moment. Thank you very much, James. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So we've got two recommendations. We're going to look to got them both there. They've got. I'll move the first one, seconded by Councillor Wood. This second one's been moved already by the Mayor. So we can put the first one being moved by myself and Councillor Wood. And then what we might do is, I think there's going to be a bit of comment, so I'm going to pause and have morning tea with our friends out in the lobby, and then we'll come back because it's not going to take 5 minutes, this. So thank you, everyone. We're just going to have morning tea. Thanks for your patience. We're going to go 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we'll start back now. Is the mayor back? Because he wants to move. Thanks for your patience. So we'll move into comment now. Councillor Naylor.
Actually, Madam Chair, I did have a question around whether recommendation 2 would require any additional resource.
Through you, Madam Chair, it will require additional resource in this financial year. It is operational expenditure split over 2 years for the time being, so it would require unbudgeted expenditure in year 2, or the current financial year.
And can you give us any indication of whether how much we're looking at, and if it's additional budget, am I correct to understand that that wouldn't be found within the existing envelope?
We'd have to address that when we report back in a bit more detail. It's likely that there'd still be some costs that fall over into year 3, but as we said, a significant proportion of those costs at the moment sit in year 3, so they would have to be, because it's operational budget, it'd have to be unbudgeted expenditure within year 2.
Okay, thank you.
So just to bring you up to speed, Mr Mayor, the question was asked if recommendation 2 required additional resource, and the answer was yes, it did. So just to bring you up to speed, so comment from you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, colleagues, I've been around the table as long as some of you, and business planning and business cases does take time, but it also, in all due respects to consultants, we can speed them up too. So if we either do this, or I think we don't do it, if we just let it take its course, we've missed a massive opportunity around advocating to the various political parties around the central government elections in October 2026. So there has been some misalignment somewhere in that planning. In all due respects to officers, the Regional Land Transport Committee has very little influence on this, really, in the respect that the money will come from government and we need to influence the influencers. So I don't know what the money side of it is, we just need to understand from the CE what that means. I'm of the view, if we don't do it otherwise, because we've missed a massive opportunity and we'll just keep getting what we get, which is zip. We've just heard about Tutanganui being growing and everything else. This links to that. We've hopefully got some good news from the airport and also rail, so we've got to do this work. If we don't, I seriously will question whether we continue doing it. The timing is quite critical, and so I do stress to you, let's see what the CE comes back with, because we've got to get at least a draft, a summary that goes to those political parties, and we absolutely harangue our representatives, because that's what happened in Hawke's Bay, and they leapfrogged us, and they've got a new piece of road with less numbers than their road than what we've got. So we've got to do something, so please support it.
Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks to James and Phil for the report. Happy to support both recommendations. Just a couple of things I wanted to comment on. One was the usefulness of some of the information in the report. There's some really good data in there. I found particularly compelling the information around some of the safety side of things, and seeing that we're the second highest risk in the nation around intersection safety, for instance, is quite a sobering statistic, and one that we need to respond to as positively as possible, which is absolutely why I'm happy to support the second recommendation. The other point that I wanted to comment on was really just the level of ambition and what we're actually trying to achieve within the city here. And my concern is that if we're only getting to a 50% reduction in freight movements within the city, to me that is far less ambitious than this needs to be. There is the cost to the residents that are in the streets. There's a cost to the overall rates in terms of trying to strengthen and respond to the wear and tear on residential streets from regional freight. So, I realize that's a Pinity thing, not just the freight ring road, but, the freight ring road is the key play within Pinity. And I hope that we can do much better than just a 50% reduction in freight on streets that have a residential or place-based purpose. So leave it at that and look forward to progress. Thanks.
Councillor Naylor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. If you could just separate these two, I'm happy to support the first recommendation. The second recommendation, I think, it's important work, but I think we need to follow the plan that we've agreed to. This has been weighed up alongside other priorities at budget setting time, and I'm quite comfortable with it being progressed according to our planned budget. I don't think a few months is essentially going to make a huge level of difference in terms of advocating to central government, so I'm pretty much happy with that 2-year plan that the work has been as outlined in the report.
Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and happy to support actually both recommendations, especially number 2, because I think that having a report back to us by the CE around the draft business case ready to advocate to central government is actually important. And I understand the concern that Councillor Naylor is actually outlined, but I think we also need to be strategic in our approach. We have an election coming, central government election coming next year, and timing is of the essence. And I think we should have something ready for us to advocate to all political parties, and so that we can get the ring road done and actually improve safety by removing heavy vehicles from our suburban streets and improve business traffic flow around key arterial roads as well. So happy to support this, and again, I say timing is of the essence. An election is coming next year, and this is an important window for us to use to advocate and strongly and actively lobby central government to get this project funded. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Councillor Dennison.
Yeah, speaking to both recommendations, but supporting both recommendations, but speaking to 2, I think this is actually worthy of passing right now. What we've shown is the consequences of not having some of our projects ready to get funding and missing out on a 3-year tranche has put us back 3 years, and it's actually put more reliance on the ratepayers' dollar to it's actually cost us by not doing some of these things. So it has this reverse effect that we're actually picking up the bill for some of the stuff that central government should be meeting. And so, and when we look at our economic strengths, distribution is very strong and right up there, and this is one of the key projects for growth in our region. And so it just makes sense that we should be continuing to keep a focus on this, moving it along, and certainly not parking it up. Our political leadership should be saying this is important, and putting the advocacy and having it ready for the next funding round at the very least. And if we can get any other support funding along the way for the other exploratory work that needs to happen, that's important too. So I'm fully supportive. Thank you.
Right, thank you for everyone's comments. I did ask the officer about his communication plan, and he said communication wasn't going to start with all of the community until February next year. I do think that communication to our community and to the wider parts, including central government, needs to start. Oh, sorry, the mayor's come in again. Oh, okay, do I do a right of reply before me? Okay. So I do think it needs to come in now, and we need to continue to make sure that we advocate for all of our community, and that in terms needs to be for our, particularly for central government as well. So I agree with both recommendations, and I'm happy for them to go together, but I do understand one of the councillors wants them separated, so we will separate them. But I support both recommendations, and I'll go to the right reply for the Mayor.
Look, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things, and I appreciate the comments earlier. Look, I think there is a bigger cost for not doing this, so I do hope it's almost unanimous on this. And it's more than just a few months if we just delay. And I think we do have to be agile and perhaps admit that we probably haven't aligned, and we're at fault there too as governors, the programs or the budget. There's a bigger cost to not doing this. We miss that big opportunity and influencing the influencers. Other cities have beaten us to that. This is competitive too, by the way. Other cities have beaten us in the past, and in fact we've got a colleague sitting here who advocated for it 2 elections ago, and we're still no further along, so we've got to push hard. Our Tūtanganui sector, which is looking like it's getting to number 1 or 2 in terms of the city's economic sectors, supports this. It will help us hugely. It will help our village of Bunnythorpe and Ashurst sort of knowing where they fit into the wider roading network. It'll get heavy transport off our city roads, and I share Councillor Barrett's comments about it's got to be more than 50%. Otherwise, you sort of question why you're doing half of this at times. But absolutely, comms can start earlier, and I say to the officers, you could start tomorrow if you wanted to. So I think rather than pushing it out, and I realise you've probably pushed it out to match the existing program that exists, let's get the CE to come back with something that, and quite quickly, of what we can do to advocate, know what our numbers are, know what the pros and the cons are of doing this, and influence the influencers. Otherwise, I actually question whether we do it at all. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll vote on number 1 first. That's passed, 14 votes for and none against. And we'll now vote on number 2. That's passed with 13 votes for and 1 against. Thanks, everybody. We'll just go to the last item on the agenda, which is on page 141, which is the work schedule. And it doesn't have a lot on it, so I don't think there's any comments on that.
Just through you, Madam Chair, no specific comment. I understand that the work schedules will be, reviewed and reassessed and popular after the election.
Great. Thank you for that. Any other comments? No? I'll look to move it. Seconded by Councillor Wood. I'll look to vote. That's passed, 13 votes for and none against. I'll look to Councillor Dennison to close the meeting. Oh, sorry. I was going to...
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just before you do close, sorry, Councillor Dennison, just want to acknowledge yourself as Chair, the Deputy Chair, other committee members of the Economic Growth Committee, to our lead GM and strategic planning and other officers that have supported the term of council. This is our last meeting for economic growth, and just want to acknowledge the mahi, the work that's gone on in the past 3 years. We are doing well as a city, despite what some people say, and it's been proven in some of our economic reports that have come to this committee. Today's especially in that place with the logistics and distribution profile. Undeniably, we are part of that in steering and providing guidance and being the enabler for that sector to grow. But it's one of many sectors in the city's very, very diverse. So again, congratulations to the committee. Thank you for the work in the last 3 years, and it should be noted.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Denison.
Kia puta ki te whaiau, ki te ao marama, whakamaua ka tina, haumi e hui e tā ki e. Ngā mihi.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We'll now go to, I think we've got a workshop. And are we going to have that in here or?